This is WCSS 1490 on your dial in Amsterdam, New York. Welcome to the show with no name for September the 5th, 2014. I'm Bob Going with my co-host Mike CHIARA and Gavin Murdoch and Jim Nikosha. Michael, you've been off for a couple of weeks. Nice to have you back.
A couple of weeks, Mr. Gordon. First of all, let me say hello, Willow. Hello, Luca. I'm here. Those are my dogs, by the way.
Oh, I'm sorry. Do it again.
You cut me off?
No, I never cut you on.
You never cut me on. Hello, Miss Willow. Hello, Miss Luca.
Okay.
So I guess I'm on here to maybe give my perspective of the charter. And it's only my perspective because I guess I'm committing some mortal sin.
We'll give you absolution.
Okay, thank you. Let me just do what I took some notes. I'll try to make it simple as I perceive it. We'll go over, I guess Sam just did some of that. But there's a few proposals. Some I agree with, a lot that I don't agree with. You know the proposition number one is going to be, which I think they should have done a long time ago. The mayor, remember, this has to do with, the charter follows, it's a document. Let's not make it personal per se, that it's this one, that one, whoever else. So the idea is, the mayor doesn't sit at the common council meetings, and basically I think that's a great idea. Because even if you looked at what's been going on, if you took the mayor out of the middle and let the council take care of the council like we do up in Fonda now, the chief executive does not sit with the legislative bodies. He can sit in the audience or comment, I guess, if he raises his hand, if they want to recognize him, or her, or whoever it may be. But that I thought was a good idea. What I wanted to see, and I guess it just was either overlooked or there was comments made, they still thought that mayors should present legislation. I do not. I think if you want a complete separation, that shouldn't happen. I don't believe that's addressed here. Now, the other thing that happens, the common council, call them the board, whatever you want to call them, will pick its own presiding officer. So whoever they want to pick will now probably sit up in the front and take care and be the chair of the common council meetings. The other thing is, people may not understand this, but to really separate it, they're going to allow the mayor to designate the deputy mayor. It could be anybody, a resident of the city, so it could be you.
It could be me.
But it serves at the pleasure of the mayors, and there's no salary per se that I'm aware of. So that's Charter 1. Number 2, which is the one that I like, which is 2 additional aldermen. Now, why do I say that? I say that because I'm going to be consistent in my points. Remember my 150 points?
I do.
Okay.
There were only 120 last year, but I guess you've added a few in the last 3 years since you walked off the show.
Thank you. I'm glad I walked. I had good shoes when I walked.
Let me make a comment about these 2 extra aldermen that you're talking about. This could theoretically give you 3 aldermen in 1 ward.
So what?
What do you mean?
No, wait a minute. Are we going to start playing games again? This is what's wrong with the whole area. We start playing games with theoretical lines drawn on a map, okay? Ward bosses, etc. We should be thinking as a city as a whole. I know people don't like that. I went to my alderman, he had my pothole fixed. Well, let me tell you something. You pay taxes to have your pothole fixed. No, it could be from anywhere, but let the public decide. You may get somebody there who is in a particular ward that feels, well, I don't want to run against Mr. X or Miss Y, who may be terrific, who you don't have an opportunity because they won't run, but they may run now. And just to show you, back then, I wanted that. This isn't something I just came up with. I put it here. Have aldermen at large about term limits. They don't really want to discuss term limits. Okay? I do. But on this, it's that.
Then why don't you have all aldermen?
I wanted that. I put my hand up. Come on. I'm one guy. And we figured the people are so entrenched with this that that's not going to happen. And probably the talk I hear, and I hear my talk from people, they figure you're just increasing the amount of aldermen and you're just increasing the trouble you're going to have. It went from 8 to 5, which is fine. I wanted the opportunity. Somebody had made a comment. Well, now I have an opportunity to vote for someone. And I looked at that and says, well, maybe that's good. We really should have aldermen at large. Now, if you remember back in I believe it was the 80s, remember the water board? Does anybody remember the water board?
I remember the water board.
They all ran at large. Nobody made a big deal about it. They all ran at large, and the top 5 got elected. Okay? I don't know. I mean, this thing is controversial, I suppose. It's out there, and it's, as Sam said a little while ago, the public makes a decision on this. I'm more concerned right now with what was happening and some of the stuff that was handed us. And I got to say something. I guess when I made comments on your radio program the other day, somebody called a friend of mine and said that I all along got on this charter commission to sub it. That is an absolute falsehood and nonsense, okay? I thought that we could do some good. I think in their minds they did, that we were going to be able to discuss any item. I thought we were going to discuss the finance totally. We were going to discuss public works. We were really going to get into term limits, etc. I did not know that somehow we were going to have things put on sheets of paper and they were going to discuss them. And I didn't get on there to sub anybody. If you know me, I'm totally independent. I think for myself. If it's me against everybody, it's the way I feel. That's me. Okay, so I didn't. There's no agenda on that. The agenda I always have, and as you know, the last time in 2004 when we put the 3% up, which I wanted to move to 0, but nobody wanted to do that, was to put a document in it that people can look at in simple English and say this is the way it should be. And I guess, there's a matter of opinion. So I just want to straighten it out. That comes to this proposition, which you were involved in, having to do with the contracts. Now, I read the decision supposedly from the judge. I don't read it as if it said what I think they're saying, that it only has to do with negotiations. I didn't read it as signing. We were told, and of course, since the coverage, you may have read it, you may not have, may have heard it, there was a huge, shall we say, display of opinion on that. Of course, I'm very opinionated. I felt, and I talked to a former mayor, and he feels the same way, that the mayor is compelled to sign. And I said, I believe in what Bob had said, the mayor is compelled to sign. I'm told the mayor doesn't have to sign anything.
Well, who's telling you that?
Well, who would?
Look, there are like 7,000 cases on point in the state of New York, and they all say the same thing. It's a ministerial act.
That's what I thought.
Judge Seiss never got to that
Never
point.
said that.
Never addressed the issue.
Right, but he's being used, I should say this, that we're changing all
what
of
your
this.
people have done here, your commission.
I voted no.
I know you did. What your commission has done here is to take all the issues from that case and change the charter so that if the case were to come up again, they would win on every point. Well, they can't win on. They want it changed because they know they're wrong on these issues. That's why they want it changed. It's not to clarify it; it's to give the mayor everything she wanted to do. All the violations she did of charter and law in that case, they would now attempt to make legal by these changes. So it's not what they were saying to conform to Judge Seiss's decision. It's quite the opposite. It's to make sure that if an issue ever comes up again, it'll never go to court because the mayor gets to do whatever she wants.
To me, if you really look at the charter, it was very simply written. I had stated what was the intent back when, Mr. DeRossi was on and other people, and you were at some of the meetings.
I was on a couple.
And
so were you.
Yeah, and it wasn't to Mickey Mouse it like this and say you can't. I mean, when I sat there, and I was told, and I said, well, wait a minute, I have some cases. What about contracts and negotiations and stuff and the consul? And I was told, now maybe I'm in another time zone here, that the mayor is not compelled to sign anything. Now think of the implications of that. I said, what about a deed? Well, I guess that's a different type of act. Or what about...
It's exactly the same
Yeah,
kind
so
of act.
what about anything else? So a mayor decides, I refuse to sign. What situation do we have? Which brings up something which I think I wanted to present.
Even if it was legal, it's bad policy.
Very bad. And I mean, I went to a mayor who we all know, who was there for quite a few years, and he came right to me and said, must sign.
Right.
Submit, and here you got a person that was in office for 12 years, alderman, etc., and you got to realize this person would have said no. The mayor, if anybody would have said the mayor didn't have
I can
to
do whatever
sign.
I want.
Right. So you got to take that for what it is and listen to something like that. So this is either. I'd be very careful about number 3 and its implications. I voted no on this, but then again, I'm probably going to get 100 phone calls. Who do you think you are, etc., etc. You go to number 4. Number 4 is the amendments that the form of government is a strong mayor form of government. I always thought that was inherent. What I did like on some...
What does that mean, Michael?
Well, I guess what it was supposed to mean, again, is that the mayor is in charge. Well, under the law, the mayor is the chief executive officer. Okay, that's fine if they wanted to put... What I don't like is the firing authority. If I sit on the Common Council, which I do not and will not, if I sit on the Common Council and I have to give my approval to Gavin to get hired, then I should have a little bit of the say if Gavin is going to be terminated. I mean, you got to be careful of how this works, all right? And also that they can hire all independent counsel, I guess, under the budget if they want. So let's have a whole city run around with lawyers. You know how I feel, Bob, about lawyers, et cetera. I make no bones
Michael, I
about
appreciate
it.
that.
I knew you would, Bob. So that I think you really got to take a look at. What you got to realize is what is the implication after this is said, and what will be the interpretation of it afterwards. What I really would like to see is a document which maybe is a few pages long or whatever that says, what I wanted to put in here, and I was told I couldn't do it, I wanted to put a strong taxpayer form of government, because that's who we're really responsive to. But then I knew that wasn't going anywhere. So the last one is a beauty.
The last one is unbelievable.
I mean,
and
this was handed to us, but you weren't there. Excuse me, you weren't there to hear all the arguments. You know what I get when I get the way I get. This is the most incredible thing that I have seen. It basically says the budgets can't be tampered with. It only is a percentage of the whole budget, $28 million. So I said, so it includes all the fringe benefits. It includes all the debt service. It includes actually the water and sewer.
Right.
It includes everything, golf, all the way across. It's a percentage, which was figured. And I guess the idea behind this is so we don't have spite. But we have a system here which is working, even though I think our system was better, which was working to say that the aldermen have the authority to the budget.
Read what it says, Mike, so people who are coming to...
Well, what you really should see, I should pull it out to see what it really says inside, if I'll get it. It says the amendment provides that the operating budget of the mayor and controller may not be reduced below a set floor percentage of all the appropriations. I believe now they said it's 4.5%. Well, that's what I believe they said. The mayor and controller are greater control over the respective operating budgets. The purpose of this amendment is to provide these branches of government budgetary protection and the ability to operate independently. Now, do you want to interpret that?
Yeah,
Okay.
that means the Common Council has no say in the matter.
That's what I said.
Yeah, it gives the mayor a blank check.
Not only the mayor.
And the controller, but and I guess several department heads.
Well,
too,
here,
right?
here I brought
favorite
it.
department heads.
This is what.
And this is crazy thing to put in a charter. You don't know what your fiscal needs of each department are going to be from year to year.
Well, it also tells to me that you can't deal with the budget if you want to.
Right.
Well, and you know how I feel about that.
Yes, it's to
it should be zero based. That's how the budget should be.
It's right.
You know, here, right now, here it is. I'll read it. I believe this is what they say. To amend the operating budget unilaterally to transfer appropriated amounts between the various budget expenditure lines contained in the sections of the operating budget related to the mayor, the corporation council,
Yeah.
the employee relations, personnel, shared services, and I believe that now it's not here, the one that I took off the computer the other day, but I was under the impression they took off the CEDD, which we are going to discuss here. Okay.
They took that off.
But it should have been taken off here. The total appropriated budget for all the categories listed above may not be reduced below 4.5% of the total operating budget. It's $28 million, give or take, all right? For all appropriated it says absent the consent of the mayor. No. Also, the control.
So the mayor can, but you can't.
Well, no, you understand what they're doing. The idea was, and, I ask a lot of questions, and somebody who was there who I didn't think should have been sitting at the table said, well, look what they did to me.
Also, with that resolution, if you can hear me, that
Here,
resolution,
here.
they said that the mayor can transfer the money.
I'm getting to that right now.
Okay, all right, read it.
This really got to me, okay?
You notice it's Jim interrupting you, not me.
I noticed. It's like the man that came to dinner. He never left. Well, it's true. You've been here forever. Even when I was here on the show with no name, the real show with no name. But anyway, the mayor and controller may transfer part or all of any of the unencumbered. Right. I'm going to tell you what happened, what I asked, because you know me, I'm an irritant. Appropriated balance to another appropriation budget line. The transfer shall be limited to transfers between any of the budget categories specified in the other sections here. So I asked the question. Okay, the council gives under, let's say, some line item in the mayor's budget, $50,000, which I don't think is going to happen.
For paper clips.
Yeah, for paper clips. I don't spend it. So I decide, I'm going to transfer $45,000 out of there to a one account, which is personnel.
Right.
Can you hire somebody? I was told by the Corporation Counsel, well, yes.
Yes.
So
And it
when
could
you
also
get,
transfer it to the corporation
when
council.
you vote for this, I would think about the implications. This is incredible that
That's
this would
insane.
even be put in here.
It's insane. That is the biggest power grab.
It
I've
should be
ever seen.
transferred back into the general fund so we can have a fund balance so we can reduce the property tax.
Right.
That's what it should be done.
This is so she can. hire
Well, let's
her
not
to-
say she or he, whoever it may be.
Well,
It's-
this is why it's in there. It's because of she.
Well-
let's face it. That this would not be in here if she could get along with anybody who's ever held a legislative position. It wouldn't be there.
Let me just show you what I think should happen.
It's so she can rehire Tom Georgia, her self-proclaimed minister of propaganda.
I remember that.
Yeah.
There is a section of the charter, and I really wanted to go further on that in there, but there's Michael and then there's everybody else. There's a section of the charter which we may have forgotten about. It was voted in, I think, when we did this in 2004, and it has to do with education. Let me read this. I'm going to read it under C9.
That was the DeCasatis Commission.
Right, that was him. Or Bill Wills' commission, actually. It says, let me just read it from here. The mayor, the controller, should complete at least 16 hours of education and training annually. The council members shall complete at least 8 hours of education and training annually. The common council shall establish the rules and procedure. And I guess I was sort of told that this hasn't happened. Well, what the heck is a charter? Why obey the charter? Maybe it has. I'd like to see them. But here's the kicker. Should an official fail to complete the required education and training, then the controller shall reduce the salary by 1/2. Now that's the kind of punishment we should have in this charter. That you just can't blatantly say that doesn't exist, like I'm told that there is no director of public works, even though it says there's a director of public works. And to my knowledge, it wasn't changed. At least I don't think it was changed. But I guess we don't have to listen to it because we've decided we don't. There should be some kind of punishment for this. This is nonsense. Don't have a document if, like David did, that says it's worthless, and when David ripped it up at the Common Council meeting. All right, that's garbage. And I wanted to discuss other things. I remember, and I believe you were on the Common Council, when the Community Economic Development Department was removed. You remember that.
Local law number 1 of
Guess
January
what?
2006.
Guess what?
Either you or I wrote it.
Probably. And I think Babe may have sponsored it. Here we go.
Passed unanimously, I believe.
Yeah, okay. And here we
Maybe
go.
one negative vote.
And it's back.
Well,
I read that. I read that because I know Mr. Califano said he talked to you and to read it. But I'm told, because I said, that was done away with. And I'm told, wasn't done properly.
And who decides it's not done properly?
Our barrister.
Well, no. The barrister at the time, the Corporation Council at the time the local law was adopted, certified to the Secretary of State that it was
And who
properly
was
adopted.
that?
That was me.
What a guy.
Yeah. Okay. So that's done. You can't come back later and say, "Well, I'm not going to follow this piece of the charter." Well, it's exactly what they were doing in the thing about the golf course. He's not. He actually said. They actually said in the court papers that the ordinance that the local law passed by the Common Council, allowing the Common Council to pass a golf course ordinance, was not properly adopted. That was 30 years ago. Okay, 30 years later, this Corporation Council comes in and says, well, in my opinion, it wasn't properly adopted.
Well, obviously, he
30
must
years
have
ago.
won because it's printed. If somebody was to get a copy of the charter.
That's just sloppy. This is off the E-code thing. This is not.
Well, should we have it correct?
It's not from the Secretary of State.
Should
It's
we
from
have
the
it
computer
correct?
side.
Don't you think, Mr. Nicosia?
Of course it should be correct.
Okay, thank you.
But it says right in it that it was.
Well, another thing,
that
say
the
you had
following
it.
provision
Say
was-
you had it, because
was
the council
overruled.
did fund 80-20. Okay? The council funded that. So I don't know if that means that they funded it, but if you don't have rules, then who makes the rules? So let's assume it exists then, like it did before.
Yeah.
Is the Community Economic Development Director, not his fault or her fault, running ADA? And
Yes,
renewal?
according to this.
But
if
are
it's
they
in there.
theoretically doing it? Is it really happening today?
Well, no, de facto they're not.
So why print all of that? Do that like I brought up and said, what good is it?
Well,
First place,
The
should
common
aid and
con- the
economic
common
arm be doing this stuff for the city like we did?
Well, right.
Okay, thank you. All right. Now, what I wanted to discuss, and you may disagree with me on some of this, I wanted term limits. People agree with it, they don't agree with it. I think you stop all the gobbledygook, and people don't agree, all we vote is term limits, but you know how it works. You know the apathy out there. You know what happens. You want to force the issue. It's your government. Instead of worrying about Kim Kardashian and some other whack that's out there, let's worry about what we're doing with the budgets and what's going on and get people to run. Term limits would stop all the nonsense, all right? I wanted to do this. I don't know if it's legal, but I read it on the internet. I guess somebody didn't want to do it in Utica. I think all elected officials should have mandatory drug testing. I think it shows good faith. Okay, and I guess that went real far. I wanted the 3% that we put in the tax cap, that we put in the tax rate cap, to go to zero. But I think he ruled that wasn't done properly.
Oh no,
either.
they passed a law after the public adopted that. The last Common Council passed a local law repealing that section.
They had no authority. They have absolutely no authority to do that.
But the Corporation Council said they did.
Well, then obviously
I'm surprised you didn't address that in this chart.
I asked to put it to zero. No, because you have no clue of what was going on in the meetings, all right? Obviously, they felt...
How many members on your commission?
There was 9, just the minimum amount. The thing is, I think there's an attitude that we can just do what we want, and it doesn't matter because we're there and we're elected. Right. The public voted for the 3%. We put it specifically that the public had to do away with it.
Right.
So they just circumvented it and said, why? Because let's raise your taxes. That seems to be the mantra. Anytime we need it, we'll raise your taxes. Right. All right? Or we'll take money. Now, if you go into, because I want to talk about a lot of this, if you go into the budget, what's really burning me up, you got to look at the revenue line items. So what's going on up there is driving me crazy as far as getting a foreclosure list, which to me is the most ridiculous thing in the world. Months ago, weren't we told there were 500? Yeah. Now we don't know if there how many. When you pay your taxes and they stamp it in the back and it goes into the computer system, how do you know? How can you say you don't have a handle on who's been paying their taxes?
Just press a button and get
right,
their answer.
So they can get we used to call them a 360 edit report. Why can't they get this? How long has it been going on? You're putting that stuff on the book probably as a receivable. Is it? The county in their audit that we had the last time said, we're waiting for the city to act, all right? So there is a problem here. And there is a problem based upon what the housing stock is and what you're doing. Plus, what I was going to get to, the revenue line items is where your city is. You can have a budget, and you budget, I guess you figure you're going to get 100%, but Gavin knows that there's the overlay based on what the school, but we have to guarantee your taxes, et cetera. There should be an audit there to say what we are, because we're 2 years behind. But regardless, the city is surviving on sales tax. Okay, they are. You take and you remove,
it's not even generated in the
right.
city.
If you remove and something happens to a couple of those line items, you have a disaster here, a major disaster, and of course the disaster will be on our backs.
Now the county could take away our share of the sales tax.
Here's
right?
the key, which I told a particular person who was doing this. It's based upon the 1%. And they have to go back to the state all the time and ask them to continue.
1%.
Yeah. What if they decided down there, and I hope they don't, because that'll be the end of our taxes.
Didn't one year we forgot to ask them to do it?
But they said, oh, well, we figure who you are. The thing is this. Let's assume for some crazy reason that they didn't give you permission on a 1. And they're going to say, it'll never happen. You always hear, it'll never happen. Well, think again on what could happen. You're not planning on the expenditures, et cetera. You can't run government with only so many houses paying the taxes in the city and not realizing the situation you're in, okay? Which I want to comment on what happened at the Common Council meeting the other night, which I watched because now I have Time Warner. Because my trees blocked DirecTV, so I can't see anything. All I get is blank, so I had to get rid of it.
Why don't you get rid of the trees?
They're not my trees.
All right.
Becomes difficult to just say, oh, guess what, neighbor? Zoom,
whatever. It's your neighbor's trees.
That's not going to happen. Okay, but getting to the point, I have no problem with there being, if they want to move to the youth, because I'm going to prove that we did that before Thade, because I guess nothing happened before Thade.
Well, no, nothing happened
Okay.
before January 1.
But my point being, I have no problem with an alderman or alderwoman asking just for finances. That's what they should be doing. They should be looking at it, seeing everything's done in a prescribed manner. It shouldn't turn into what it did. It turned into a disgrace, in my opinion. Not saying that they don't have a right to speak, but it looked like, somebody's against everything just because they asked a question. We as taxpayers have a right to know. I want to know down, take for instance the, whatever they call this down here, the Riverlink Park, when we had
the
read it
James D.
before.
Marks Riverlink Park.
When Jimmy was on here before the Curtis had left for a few weeks, we had read the contract and said, where's the accountability? Then we want to know the accountability on everything. It's still city property. And if you still read the charter, I think it still exists, it says that the Common Council has priority over the assets. The assets are our public. Okay, Glen Wild, which is, who knows what's going on there. All right? So the idea is, person asked a question, and I don't think it was done in a manner to try to upset everything. They wanted to know. Why can't they know? They should have a right to see everything having to do with finances. They should have a right to see what's going on with the buildings, and etc. They're put in that position. All right, so I have no problem with that. I have no problem with that group getting up and saying, I saw the enthusiasm. You know something? I'd like to, and somebody got up and says, where's our other revenue sources? Well, there are, and there were other revenue sources, and you know what it was.
And they threw it away.
They threw it away. So I'd like to challenge you people. I'd like to challenge you to get a group together, and if you really got a huge group, I can arrange to have this discussed again, and the people to come down to discuss the community, the construction and demolition, not dump, not garbage, landfill. Let me just explain something. And I showed Jimmy. We did this in my garage several years ago because I asked them to come down because I wanted to continue to do something for the taxpayer, okay? This was the new one proposed, and I think what happened, Bob Noel came in, Bill Wills basically made some crazy remark, and Bob Noel says, it's been nice talking to you. Nice way to treat people, okay, after they spent over $1.5 million in here, all right? But if you remember back, do you remember, Bob, and Jimmy would remember, the host city agreement? I've got some other notes.
Sure.
Okay, and the host,
Remember it.
okay, you should, because I think you gave a presentation on that, didn't you? The host city agreement back there, for $3 million, here it is, for $3 million, and this was how many years ago? This was what, 10 years ago, maybe?
Almost 10.
Just to show you
Would have
that.
been done by now.
Well, I want to show you what would have happened. That
Yeah.
they're worrying about buildings and for the
It
kids
wouldn't
and for
have
this.
been- It wouldn't have been done by now. It wouldn't have been done by now.
No, I don't mean that. I mean what would have happened is this. We had put together a group. We had a host city agreement because we said we didn't want the money taken, and I'm going to hire 10 of my friends. That wasn't the concept of this.
It would have been squandered.
Okay. We put $1 million. This was $3 million a year given to the city. And when does a private company give you money? You're talking about the casino. I was for the casino. It did happen. You can't put all your eggs in one basket, etc. But they were talking about this revenue, which I guess we're going to get some of it anyway, based on OTB, etc. Okay. We were going to put $1 million. This is back the original, not the one I'm going to read you, which is beyond comprehension. And I want these individuals to listen. We were going to put $1 million in there to reduce the real property tax. Okay.
Make sure that this is directed to the people that got up and spoke.
That's what I am directing. I'm challenging this and the rest of the city. You're looking for revenue. Bring this back, okay? Because there was a scientific study done, the FEIS, et cetera. I think that a couple of this. We have to
I
go.
got to do a mandated FCC break.
Please do it.
This is WCSS 1490 on your dial in Amsterdam, New York. You're listening to the show with no. What is the name of the show?
It's your
The
show.
show with no name. With
You know what
with our co-host Michael CHIARA.
I am not your co-host. I'm your guest today. Okay. We've also put $500,000
Also the producer today.
for future real property tax, because we knew, let's say 12 years, 15 years it goes, there would have been a build-up to continue the real property tax. And it would mean something. That's how you stimulate a community. We put in $300,000 for street improvements, infrastructure repair,
Per year.
fire hydrant. This is per year now.
Right.
This isn't a one-shot deal. We put $300,000 at that time for matching grants, because if you put up 100, you get 100, because we thought we'd get more money for the city of Amsterdam, all right? We put in $250,000 to reduce the debt. Boy, that's something different, isn't it? We put in, now at this time, this would have to go. The sewer plant had to settle. Remember, it was going to be millions and nobody was paying any attention to it. We put $200,000 for that, so you could actually take that up the streets. We put $200,000.
No, because that's what the settlement deal was.
You're right, but I mean, you
That-
could take
that
that
would
$200,000 and move it somewhere else.
No.
Why?
Because we're still paying that.
Are you sure?
I'm almost positive.
Well, I'd have to check that.
Oh, maybe not.
$200,000 for demolition. Wow, we hear about that, don't we?
Yeah.
All right. We put $85,000 to the public library, okay, which they all use, and $80,000 to purchase new vehicles for public works. We put $30,000 for our parks. So this is before THANE, that you think that nothing happened, or et cetera. $30,000 for sports leagues around the city, and $25,000 a year for beautification, weed control. So this was there, okay? That was back then. So I told the guys, it didn't seem to be working. You know what happened. Let's not reiterate all that. So we sat down and said, well, we do. So we came up with a new system. And Bob Rowell tried to explain this, but he couldn't get one word out of his mouth because of the attitude up at that console, which is wrong, okay? But it happened. And I'm going to make this in a nutshell, because right now, when we did this, all these numbers have changed. They've gone up. So just let's take year 5 here.
Well, this was the final proposal was that the city would operate the.
But there's a way of doing that
the
without the
Sandy
debt.
landfill.
He was going to explain all that.
Right.
And of course, he was rudely treated horribly. And he said, "That's it." But I think we can talk about this. Just to give you a few ideas. Here's what we were going to do. There would be, if we done it this way, and if everybody agreed, there'd be no city property tax. Now, pay attention to it. Based on your assessment. No city property tax for maybe 10 to 15, 12, 15 years. Would that revitalize your housing and everything else for yourself? None. Be zero. There would be user fees. We didn't discuss them. We will be discussing the county in a couple minutes. Okay? There would be an engineer hired, which for that. But you could also take that engineer and use him for city projects. So that's another benefit to the city of Amsterdam. With all the other things they did. Also, we were going to do this. We were going to give the school district over $1 million, and when it got different, it would be $2 million a year to reduce property taxes. Thank you very much. Nobody's paying attention to that. We were going to give $250,000 up to the street department. All right? We put $500,000 in escrow to be used for whatever. We put debt. $200,000 to $500,000. Demolition, $500,000 to almost $1 million as it went up in demolition. Buying equipment, $200,000. Parks, it started at 50 and it's going up to 100. That's just the park. Sports, $25,000 to $50,000. Beautification, $25,000 to $50,000. We put waterfront down there because they say we're all negative to enhance the city, and it started at $250,000 up. Replace
per year.
Per year now. This is per year. Replacement and repair, we put in there because we know things happen. We put $100,000 in there. And also, probably this would be saying you don't do it, but to help the senior citizens, we had which would help the county budget, we put $50,000 to $100,000 a year for the OFA because we do give $300. Marketing, which they say we don't market. We started at 60 and went up years later to 100. Now the numbers have changed. What I didn't put in here was recycling. There's millions of dollars more in recycling, which they would have had a windfall on that to do something. So when they say there's no revenue sources, there was a revenue source down in what we called a ravine, which was construction and demolition, which had all kinds of scientific studies, etc., and it should have been listened to, but it wasn't listened to. So I'd like to see, and I appreciate anybody that comes and feels adamant about their position. Let's see some people get together and help our community. We'd be the envy of everybody in the Capital District if we had something like this. Now, you want to comment, Mr. Nicosia, because I have more notes.
Do I want to comment?
Yes, because you were part of this.
I made the comments, and matter of fact, I made a statement last week that as long as I'm alive, this CD landfill is still alive. There's no doubt in my mind that if they came in, the city would be solvent within a year, and everything that we're complaining about right now would be taken care of. Simple as that.
And we would have those revenues line items coming in, and you wouldn't have to shake all the time that something's going to happen. Now, just think about it. Take 5 years. you got your bill and all you got was your user fees on it, and your school tax maybe stayed stable or went down. Do you think that might spur the economy here?
Absolutely it would.
Okay.
Absolutely. People would want to come here. To
Right.
live.
And once they got their bill, I've always said this to the people that were the naysayers. Once they got their bill and it said no tax for X number of years, there would be, I think you would have a lot of support out there, which we didn't get. People were for it, but they were afraid to come forward.
But they didn't. They didn't believe it would actually happen.
All right, here's what happened. Let's talk about that for a minute. I had individuals, I won't mention who they were, very high-standing individuals at that time, elected, who said, but it's only for so many years. So let me ask you a question. If Michael Anthony came to your house, like the millionaire, and he said, I have a check for $1 million, and that's for right now, tax-free. And you said, I don't want your blooming check because you're not going to give me the check next year. Think what you could do with the million. I mean, how are we thinking? What idiotic thinking is that? If right now, if the city
there was a Recorder editorial that said exactly that. That what we can't take this because we won't get it in 10 years.
Well, let me
comment, Mr. Nicole,
When-
because I have
when,
some things to say.
when they first came to me with this proposal from AMR, I did a little research. I called the landfill place where everything we're dumping now is dumped.
Okay.
Seneca Falls.
Seneca
I
Falls.
called up there and I talked to the director, and I explained to him what was going on down here. He says, "How can people of intelligence refuse what they're proposing?" He says, "There's no way." He says, "All we get up here is they fund our fire department, our volunteer fire department." He said, "That's our that's our benefit from the landfill." He says, "You guys get all this." He says, "You got to be crazy down there not to jump on this." So I guess
Guess what? We're crazy.
I guess we're crazy.
But I mean, listening to the meeting the other night, there 5,000 here. I got to commend Mrs. Beekman if she gave 5,000. God bless you. And I also have to commend a person. I commend you, and I commend Dr. Rao. Yes. Dr. Rao he's your neighbor. Dr. Rao, I've known Dr. Rao very well, has done a lot for this community.
Boy, I guess.
Boy, you know what? But the Dr. Raos and this and that can't keep funding this. We had a means that this would be funded. Can you imagine if you put all that money into just, say, the parks? I want to talk about something else because it just reminded me. Back when I was chairman of ADA, many times and thrown off many times. I hold the record for being thrown off of boards. The question was, they were talking about parks in the East End and basketball. Well, I had said to myself, let me think. So there were old lots down by the railroad tracks at the very end of a couple of those streets, which were owned by ADA. And I wrote a letter and says, what if we were to just clean those lots up and fund, because we funded the Little Giants and we did all this, people forget. And of course, Shuttleworth Park was done before you know who, etc., that we could put it down there. It would be away from the general housing, etc., and we could do it. So these things were proposed before that we could have taken that and we could have sat down and we could have discussed this stuff. Let's go back to the meeting the other night. I believe that what the council should do is have, like Paulie Constantine had, you remember, a few of us do, the Saturday morning meetings where they would sit before the common council meeting and they would hash everything out. You could bring these people forward, you could sit down, supposedly in an intelligent environment, and say, here's what we have to do. Because looking at it, I come into the city and I look at this, I might get a very negative opinion of what's going on here. There used to be a program it was called College Bowl. You remember College Bowl.
Sure.
And College Bowl would make you rise to a higher level. Well, unfortunately, in many cases, we look like Toilet Bowl. Okay, and let's be honest about it. It's the truth. All right. So we got to get our level up here, and I'm going to make a political statement, and I wanted to make it, and I'm going to make it. I shouldn't do it, but I am. I mean, I shouldn't be making political statements, but I want to. I think we've got to remove a lot of the people that are currently sitting in office. They have to go. There's no question in my mind about it. It's my opinion. I support a particular candidate for mayor. I think I've known this individual. I support this person. His name is Curtis Pettinger. Why do I support Curtis?
Wait. You're not supporting me?
No. Why do I support Curtis? Because Curtis his demeanor and his way of acting and his brain power would set this city straight to the point you wouldn't have all these arguments. He's not that kind of person. He's the kind that can get people together and talk. He has tremendous knowledge. He's actually the smartest person that I ever personally met. He has a tremendous ethical and moral standard.
That's 2 and 30
No,
seconds.
I'm leveling the
No,
way
that's
I see
right.
it.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
And I believe that that's the kind of person, because he doesn't have the specific roots to all these groups, et cetera, and it wouldn't bother him anyway if he did. And he did put the school tax reform together and did that this is the kind of person you really need to get in there and straighten the city out, and we'll do it without an ego, and we'll get in there and do it. Actually, you've got to know the gentleman, and I've known him for quite a while, and he has no ego. He wants to do what's right, and you don't know how intelligent this guy. He fascinates me with his intelligence, and I think he's the guy that actually we should get behind him. He's the guy we should support to be mayor of the city of Amsterdam, and I hope people. This is my opinion now, and people should get behind this particular individual. Of all the years I met everybody, and this is not a slap in anybody's face because I'm included myself. All right, I've never met a finer person than Curtis Pettinger in my life. Okay, that's the truth.
All right.
But I had to say that because I think
time out,
that
time
these
out, time
people
out.
currently in there, most of them should be removed. You know my attitude. You get in, you get out. None of this perpetuity like somebody that we had in Congress,
All right.
or et cetera.
All right, time out.
No.
No, we
I
have
already got
to
a few
time
more
out
minutes.
because we are now a sponsored program.
Oh,
unlike
I didn't
when-
know that.
Yes, so we have to.
God bless you.
Because Gavin,
Let's pray.
Gavin, you haven't had much to say today. I wonder if
He doesn't like it probably that I'm on.
Do you like ice cream?
I love ice cream.
Yeah. If you were going to get some ice cream, where do you think you would go? And
I'd go to some place that had the best chocolate vanilla twist in the city.
It's on Forest Avenue.
It is on Forest Avenue.
It would be Crystal. Yeah, I should know
It
it.
would be Crystal and
I
Forest.
can't eat ice cream, but I see the people
You
eat
can't?
it.
Oh.
No, I can't.
What kind of punishment is God giving you?
A lot.
You can't. Oh,
Are you
must.
lactose intolerant?
Yeah, very bad.
Really?
Extremely
Oh.
bad.
But can
Wow.
you eat pizza,
I am Mr. Pizza.
Mr. Pizza?
Well, where could we get?
I am
to that?
intolerant, as you know.
Right after you have the ice cream, even if you're lactose intolerant, you'd go right in there and get the pizza because the ice
Well,
cream
at the
is an
same
appetizer.
place?
Same place.
Crystal on Forest.
Crystal and Forest, except on Mondays because they're closed on Mondays.
Except on Monday.
Well, what
Why
happens
are
on
they
Monday?
closed on Monday?
They're closed on Mondays now.
They need some
For a
rest.
while.
They
Yeah.
need some rest.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean because the summer season's over?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so they're closed on Monday,
But you can go 6 or 7 times in the other 5 or 6 days.
or you can go twice a day.
Absolutely.
I understand they open right after we close, right? Isn't that the?
Well, that's their
our show
plan.
goes to 11 o'clock, and they
That's
open
right.
up.
Well, I saw in the
Right after.
newspaper you also could get, I guess, on Thursday there's Italian night.
Oh yeah, Italian night.
yeah.
discount
Spaghetti
rate.
and meatballs.
Yeah.
Oh, best. The best.
You know, I went in there with. I only had $9 in my pocket the other day. Went in with the wife, and I came back with a bundle of change.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, if. We were just going in for ice cream, but there's all kinds of things you can get for $9 or less there. And if you don't bring your wife along, you
have even
can
more.
really have a good time.
That's right.
But you won't be very happy when
But
you
you
get
won't be
home.
happy when you get home. Yes, but
right.
But
That's It is. But,
You know,
Crystal on Forest with Tony
for- you know,
To
Sentai.
me, what-
Well, I don't want you to say after that, I came on and you weren't allowed to talk, even though I can't believe that you're still here after 7 or 8 years. But
He just keeps
whatever.
showing up.
Now, let's discuss something else. Since Crystal
Is that-
Restaurant,
is that-
Crystal, go there because that guy's done a lot for this community. He's a great cook. That's the place you should go to eat and support
And
him.
there's 24 flavors of soft ice cream
I
in
can't eat
addition
it.
to
Dude, I
vanilla
hate
chocolate?
it when people are eating cones in front of me and ice cream.
Well, I can't eat the
and
cone,
I'm
but I
sitting
ate it
there
that day.
and I'm looking at it and saying, "That's cruel."
I've had the banana.
I don't wanna hear it.
And
I can't
even
have
had
any
a
of
banana
it.
milkshake that he made.
I
Special
can't have
for
that
me.
either. So don't tell me that.
You can't have a banana milkshake.
I can't have any of that stuff.
Oh,
I live on meat and
it's really
potatoes.
delicious.
Yeah.
He's got pretty good calzones.
Pistachio. He's got
Ah.
pistachio ice cream.
He's got good calzones up there too.
Pistachio or nuts, so you could have that.
Yeah, I
right?
can't, because thank you for implying that. Anyway, I didn't get to the school yet. You don't want me to start attacking the school when I think of it.
All right, Tony, that's all we can get in today. Sorry, I know we promised you an extra 30 seconds.
Well,
so
give it an
that's
extra
all
30 seconds.
right. We'll give it to him later.
Here, that's
all right.
Now, let's go to something. I talked to Jimmy about it before we got in. Did you read the paper yesterday about the county, part of the county budget?
I read part of it.
Did you see they're instituting a fee?
A fee.
I didn't quite
Fine.
understand what that was.
That apparently is a fee, I'm told,
Any vehicle you own.
that she wanted for years. It's something I guess they
What
do it in
she?
the county.
What she?
The clerk of the county. It's your registration fee. Now, if you do that, you have to pay an extra fee. Now, they put in there, it may be $10, whatever. I think it's based on weight. Fee. Think about that. We got enough
tax.
fees. Yeah,
It's a
well,
tax.
you know, they know.
It's a tax.
No,
It's a
not
tax.
not a tax.
It's a tax.
Because of course it's a tax.
It's coming out of my pocket.
You
It's a
got
tax.
it. It's a tax. Can you believe now that we're going to start fees? What's
Tax.
next?
That's because they want to raise the taxes.
And they had 370,000, if I read it right in the
Well,
paper.
you chose not to run for the county legislature.
I did what I said I do. You get in and you get out.
Yeah, but it was a different job.
Doesn't matter. It was the same job, basically. Get in and get out. It stops all the nonsense once and for all. That's my personal opinion. But think about it. Many years
You can
ago,
go back, though,
you
the
may
next
not.
time,
No,
right?
I can't. I don't believe in that. Here's what you do. Do you remember when they were going to do the garbage? You may not remember. Now it's all changed. Remember years ago that they were going to put a fee in? You may not remember. And it did happen.
Every garbage bag.
This is the whole county. So what is it good? Now, what happened in the city? Many years ago in the 70s, they really didn't tell the public, oh, guess what? We got to pay for the sewer plant. There was remember, you may remember, a $55 charge. All of a sudden, I ought to know this because I took 1,000 complaints. They said, here,
Oh, you were in charge of that.
No, they said, here, take all the complaints. And boy, I'll tell you get a baptism real quick, all right?
I mean, there used to be no sewer fee because it just went in the river.
How the sewer fee was set out, there was like the NCR paper, I guess. There was a separate bill. It wasn't on your tax bill because they used to have a separate water bill.
Yeah.
And then they decided to put it all together. So they sent out $55 a unit. Remember, one family, one, two families, two. And I can tell you because I personally, the only one that knows, I took, and it had to be well over 1,000 complaints on every minute the phone rang. It wouldn't stop. And they had a commission and all this to check it. The people were infuriated. So where are we now? We got water, we've got sewer, we've got sanitation, and now it's in the hundreds. So once you start something, when does it end? Now the county's going to have a fee?
It never ends.
Tax.
Tax. I'm glad you said that. When are we going to stop? Are you going to go Are you going to go and protest?
No, I'm going to move.
Oh.
If you can sell your house. If you can
What's
sell
the
your
equity?
sell my
What's
house.
the equity of your house now?
A lot less than you assessed it for.
You're right, but you know how I am, Bob.
Yeah, you take care of your friends.
No, there's no friends in
Hey,
the
you know, every
assessment
time
business.
I see, there's somebody who writes anonymously on Facebook that every once in a while attacks you and says how you give special benefits to your friends in particular neighborhoods. When
Really?
you're an assessor.
I-
say, oh,
I
yeah,
raised my own
you know,
assessment.
You know, probably the worst financial mistake I ever made in my life was having Michael CHIARA as my best friend. Jeez,
My aunt
I
sued me.
can't treat you special. Yeah, you sure as hell did.
My
treat
own
you
aunt
special.
sued me. So I mean, come on. But you know, don't say anything. Just like that guy said, I had an
Seriously
agenda.
though, Mike, because I brought this up. In the 4 years I was in the Corporation Counsel's
Right.
office, I don't think we had a single residential assessment that went to court.
Maybe the same guy came in a few times. We had basically 12.
No, that went to court. That
Right.
went-
No, right. You're
I
absolutely
know.
correct.
I never appeared in court on
You're
a
absolutely
residential matter.
correct. But you also did a foreclosure.
I did.
You know, they badmouth you, they say things, etc. And I thought the Corporation Counsel's office, I brought that up, should be in City Hall.
Should be
And
in
I was
City Hall.
told no, because I'm part-time.
Yeah.
But he's part-time, but he's getting
Full-time
retirement.
salary.
Yeah, and I was part-time too, 30 hours a week. 30 hours a week, I think no. John Kaczynski Jr.
I remember that.
you
The table.
That's right. Mr. Gray Suit.
Right.
I said, well, how come you accept such a low salary as Social Services Commissioner? He says, look, if I have a private client who gives me a retainer of $26,000 a year,
Wow.
I'm going to give that client a lot of service. He says, so I don't look at this as being a particularly bad honorarium for.
Now that you brought that up, something else which was in here, and it wasn't, I guess it didn't appear after. There was also an item in there, I believe, to raise the salaries of the elected officials. And you know how I feel about that. I wanted to go the opposite route. Maybe it's too harsh, but I wanted any elected official, at some time you'd have to figure out the calendar, to be voted on by the public if they wanted to raise it, what it would be. You don't take these jobs for what it pays. You're told, well, I make a lot less than this person. Well, if you take that job because you looked at it for the money, You're in there for the wrong reason. And not saying that the aldermen, I think, just take the aldermen, I'm not picking on them. The aldermen, in my opinion, are underpaid.
Oh, they're way underpaid.
Okay?
There's no question.
But Bill Wills at that time wanted to reduce their salary, and I think that put a whatever on it. Now, you get told, well, we'll never get a raise. See, I don't believe that. I believe that there is, that people would understand that and do it. But I don't think arbitrarily during the course of a year, and what I didn't like about the county, but I guess I couldn't put in any amendments because there was a caucus and they were going to back anything. I thought, yeah, they were. Number one, there should be 3 years on the county legislature. It should be 2. 3 years is out of line. All right, I don't think most people know that it's a 3-year term. Number two, they can, but I know they won't. They can raise their salary. I think that's very dangerous. I think the way they did it.
Look what happened in Congress and the Senate.
Well, I think this is horrible. All right,
It's not
all of
a
a sudden
career.
you wake up one day and we raised our salary $20,000. Okay, but you are told, well, if the people don't like it, they can vote it out. But for 2 years, I've reaped so-called in quotes the rewards. I don't think that's right. That's bad faith. We got to reconstitute our government for the public. We only know the public when we want something, etc. Or we say, hey, it's voting time. The public is apathetic. I think you made a comment on that the last meeting.
I did.
They are. Go check the votes.
They want a dictator. They want a dictator.
You're right. I
They don't want to know about it.
I have to agree because what I see.
Don't tell us about these petty little issues.
Diane got slammed in the editorial from the Gazette, and I can understand where they can say they try to say she's against kids. I know Diane when she first came in here for the master plan, okay, personally. She's not that type of person, but she is inquisitive. She used to ask 1,000 questions. She wanted to get to a point. That's important.
How much money has she spent on freedom of information requests?
You're right. And how much has she done raking and every other thing that she's done? She sort of was painted into a corner. There was a speech made at the Common Council meeting, etc.
Which was out of line.
All right. It was probably more than 5 minutes.
Well, I remember when they did that to David, when David
I
Patricia
remember that. I was there.
alderman for 2 years.
I
from the
remember
fourth
that.
ward.
They were all in the audience.
Totally ganged up at him on the Common Council.
Have these Saturday morning meetings. Get together, as I said, let's bring this to offer Reader's Digest level. Let's bring this up. Let's bring this to an intellectual level so people can say, where's Amsterdam going? Look at the C&D landfill for revenue. Go into your accounts and know what you got. You know what they ought to do? We did this, and I think John Duchesne had done this before. You had a bus. You got into the bus, you put all these people in it, you can put the elected officials, and you went to neighborhoods, and you said, you never looked at those 6 houses up there that should be demolished and really got problems.
Well, I remember when you ran the property disposition
Right.
committee. We took the bus ride around the city to
And I
see
thought
what properties we own.
that style of property disposition, maybe it was tedious, stopped some of the.
It was very effective.
But it was effective to the point where somebody says, "Well, just give me a house for $1." All right, they did. They stayed there one night. I threw them out in my beautiful way. But we had a group that came and said, you must give us the houses. They didn't say we had to conform. They said, you must give us the houses. And I says, we're not going to where's your track record? Who are you? And that was the attitude here. Well, we could get a house here cheap. Yeah, you probably, but are you going to fix it when somebody says you got code violations? How many houses out there, and I heard a number, better not say it, which would blow your mind of how many are out there that are probably should be condemned, etc. When somebody like Diane says or wants to know what's going on or says I'm looking at this from another avenue, she's only asking to realize what is this going to compound that you can't fix it? That you're going to have to go out and you're going to have to really come up with some bucks, and where's it going to come from? And what does your city look like? We can stop this. Second thing, get to the foreclosures. As you know, you may remember, isn't every quarter they used to send out a packet, a letter that says you're behind $8? You didn't pay this quarter, you didn't do that. So how difficult is it to know who didn't pay and when?
Yeah, I mean,
why has this become such a monumental task?
They send the notices out every quarter.
I remember we used to.
Every month.
Used to be 2-3 inches thick, and you'd send them, and they'd say, "Oh my God, I forgot I didn't pay the water thing, or I didn't pay a quarter on here. I didn't pay this." Why is it so difficult? It appears after all this time, and I have to say, it's too bad Ron Wizardbicki passed away because I like Ronnie. I knew him. I think Ronnie would have straightened this place out. That's my own personal opinion. All right? But my attitude is this stuff has nothing to do with where you booked something per se or why. Why can't we? Where is it? Where's the list? What's owed?
Should be pretty simple.
Are you going to open this and
Is it-
find out? Oh my God, that place owes $500,000.
Is the-
Have we looked at it?
You know, the total amount might take a little bit of time, but knowing, we can, I don't know, you want to take a call?
Not especially.
Nah, Ken the calls. Besides, it's 10:56.
Yeah. No, you've got to go off at 11. It's 10:56.
He'll let you go.
Well, I doubt they'll let me go. I don't know how I even got in here.
Already talked to
Oh, you may be out with, what, we're going to stay over?
Well, he's got to take phone calls.
Well,
I didn't know that.
go check, Jim.
I already checked.
So we can go over?
If you start taking phone calls.
Hey, Joe Isabel, come back in here. All right. Well, we're going to find out if we're going to go over. Anyway, all you have to know is, do they owe taxes, and have they owed
That's
them
it.
for more than 2 years?
And they got
That's
formulas.
the only answer.
You've
If
got the
it's-
formulas for
if
what
it's
the
more than 2
penalties are, right? And there should be a list. Because I always like to look at those lists.
All right.
Because if you saw something on there, like I saw Coleco years ago, and said they're not paying an $8 bill, we better do something. So we called them in. And
Why
said,
aren't you paying your $8 bill?
it said something's wrong here, and I remember somebody telling me, and I said to them, they're going to file bankruptcy. No, they're not. I was told by some official. I said they're going to file bankruptcy.
That's why they're not paying.
Okay, and they did.
right.
We should have done something about
All right, 843-2500 is the number. We're going to stay on a little bit longer past the hour because
I can't hear you.
We don't get Michael on all that often.
it. And you won't.
Here, use these.
Why these don't work?
Oh wait, well I don't know. One of them doesn't work. I don't know.
Yeah, I got you. I got you, Bob.
You are listening to WCSS 1490 in Amsterdam, New York. So if you got calls for Michael, 843.
No, why for me? For me, we'd have calls
All
for
right.
Gavin.
All right, we've got a leeway of a half hour here. So-
Really?
Okay. All right. Well, it's been a while since you've been on, Michael.
And I was intelligent.
Make sure you take phone
As a matter of fact, I think I've still got a video of your last program with us.
Would you burn it?
When you announced you were going to run for?
No, I really didn't announce it. Said if they wanted to vote for me, they could.
And they did.
And they did.
I appreciate that very
All
much.
right. This is WCSS. You're on the air.
Hi, Mr. CHIARA.
Yes.
Did you say that you don't believe the mayor could not sign something that the Common Council proposed?
When did I say that? What are you talking about?
I thought Mr. CHIARA said he doesn't think the mayor should have permission not to sign something.
I think the mayor has
It's
to
like
sign.
a pocket veto, right?
Wait, I think, and here, follow me. If the Common Council passes something to the effect that it's not illegal, the mayor has the obligation to sign. Period.
Wow, wait, listen, this is a pocket veto. The president can just say, "I'm not signing it," doesn't he?
No.
That goes.
Only if it's at the end. Only if it's at the end of a congressional term. That's the only time the president can do that. If the Congress passes something over the president's veto, he has to execute it. And that's what we're talking about. That's what we're talking about here.
Right, that's exactly what we're
not saying
talking
the mayor
about.
doesn't have the right to veto, although
Right.
that's another issue.
That is
We're saying that once
it's done,
once the issue is done,
That's
the mayor
it.
has no authority to not execute what the Common Council passed.
They have to support the law.
Yep.
That's
So
your
she
job.
has to sign it?
Yes, yes.
Yes. If the Common Council approves a contract,
Right.
for example, which is how it comes up, then the mayor has to execute the contract. It's a ministerial
Right,
act.
that's the key word.
It's a ministerial act. That's all. It's just so that there's a record of what the terms of the contract
Wait,
are,
let's,
and the two parties agreed to it.
Sir, what do you think should happen?
No, I just looking at the president of the United States.
Well,
if
let's
he
not
doesn't
equate
sign-
this
If he doesn't
administration
sign
to-
something like Bob said, it's the end of the term. I don't understand all that. But, the president doesn't have to sign it; he can just let it go. And
It's a pocket veto, but then the Congress can go back and override the veto. Then he must
well,
sign it.
override. Yeah, okay. You said something different there.
Right. If I confuse you on that, I'm sorry, but I thought that we understood that when they say this is it, they have the power because they make the laws. I think that's
All
forgotten.
right.
basically.
Yeah,
She
but-
should have
but-
to, he or whoever should have to sign.
But basically, what one of these charter amendments does is says that even after it passes over the mayor's veto, the mayor can continue to ignore it because
Oh,
the mayor is
no,
gone.
no, she can't do that.
Well,
Oh, no, that's how you better pay
but
attention
but
to
she
what's
will be
going on
if
the
this
ballot.
passes. Yes.
Oh, my goodness.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much
Thank
for
you,
clearing
sir.
that.
Thank you for your comment.
right,
Very
bye.
much.
All right, 843-2500 if you've got calls for
Maybe
Michael
we should,
Tara.
and you would as corporation counsel, explain there's a legislative branch and an administrative branch that's supposed to.
Everyone knows that my opinion doesn't mean anything.
It means something to me.
Yeah.
I thought you were a fine corporation counsel.
Thank you very much. I thought you were a terrific assessor.
Well, that's a matter of
and,
opinion.
and chairman of ADA.
For how many times?
And president of the
Oh.
Extreme Northern and Chuckton Railroad.
And also the chairman of the master plan, which I guess are going to start again.
Oh, yeah. Well, I guess they've run out of things to do. Yeah. Well, and do you realize that you are responsible for the multi-million dollars of tax money they're spending to bring a train station downtown?
Thanks, Mike.
I don't think the train station should move. That's my own opinion.
Yeah, I was in Rensselaer.
I think you ought to talk to CSX and
I
decide
was in
what's really
Rensselaer
going
the
on.
other day.
As long as it doesn't cost the city anything, I don't care where they put it.
It's going to cost it's going to
Well,
cost the
that's it.
taxpayers of the state of New York.
Exactly.
Well, let's look at it. Is this being done because of the 250,000 people that are going to go on
Yes,
that bridge?
that's right.
And do you really believe that we're going to have 250,000? Again,
That's
maybe
right.
they're going to have flights from overseas
The
to
first
come
year.
here.
The first year, maybe.
Millions.
You really believe we're going to get 250,000
Millions.
people
Well, no,
here?
no, I
Where
don't.
would you put
No, I
them?
don't. No, I don't.
You go over here where the Holiday Inn is. Where are you going to put them? They're going to sleep on the street?
Yeah, you missed the whole point.
No, I don't.
They're not going to all come.
I
at the
know
same
that.
day.
I know
Yeah,
that.
but when you, okay. So
There's just going to be 1,000 a day.
1,000 a day. Think
1,000.
about it.
That's right.
365,000 people.
So you believe they're going to come to see this
No, no,
bridge?
I didn't say I believe.
Anyway, so I'm down in
You know how I feel about
I'm
the
down in
bridge.
Rensselaer on Wednesday, and of course this multi-billion-dollar Joe Bruno train station they
Right.
built in Rensselaer. Right? I said, look at how this train station, the main train station where people come from New York to Albany, are getting in and off there. Right? This fabulous train station with kiosks and everything else.
Right.
Look at how it's led to the economic revitalization of that whole neighborhood where it's located. That whole neighborhood where it's located still looks like the worst parts of Amsterdam. Okay, that's what the train station has done to the economic development in Rensselaer.
But what I want to know is, you hear all kinds of commentary. Let's get the facts. Why is it going to be moved?
Because you said so in the master plan. That's the excuse. The real reason.
No, I didn't agree with
No,
all the master plan.
the
I
real
mean, it was
reason
there,
is
that was
it's the
it.
only way they can figure out to get funding to bring the pedestrian bridge to Main
Oh.
Street. That's the real reason.
But did they tell us up at the school where we went to a couple
Well,
of
they didn't
meetings
know. They didn't
that
know
they were
what
$4 million to the good?
from the original estimate of building the bridge.
Right.
Yeah, now they're $2 million down.
And did they also tell you, Mr. Nicosia, because remember in 2007 when I started all this controversy with a resolution, that they could divert some of the money to the river?
Yes, they could.
All right, so we hear that they couldn't have. Right now, we could have had that whole river front,
Right.
everything revitalized totally.
Yep.
When I talked to the people from the bridge, the canal people, they said all it needed was a resolution from the city, presented to the
Which we did.
House, present
We
it
did.
to the House, and the House could make the decision.
Right.
Well, the House never made the decision.
Right.
So
All right. Okay.
That's
This is WCSS. You're on the air.
Yeah, let me turn the radio down.
Sure.
The other night, at the end of the meeting, when I was,
oh, this is Diane.
I brought up that I wanted to have a public hearing on moving the railroad station. And I want to do it now before it goes any further. Because the people that use the railroad station like it where it is.
You're negative. If you make comments like that, you're going to be accused of being negative.
And we all know, Diane, when 40 years ago, when the train station moved to the West End, what it did to revitalize the West End.
Absolutely.
The two or three businesses that were there are no longer there.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm still going to push for it, whether the mayor likes it or not, because the train station was gutted It does not have mold in it like the mayor and
Exactly.
von Hoslen are saying. And it was gutted. It was redone on the inside. And it's very nice. It's open. It's clean. And the people that use the station like it there. They don't want to go downtown. You start looking at moving the train station, we don't have the population to sustain the dollars that are going to go into something of this nature.
How many people use the train in the course of a week?
I can't answer that. I don't have no clue.
Maybe a dozen.
Yeah, that's probably.
Are we going to get high-speed rail here?
No, we're not.
I didn't
And
think
they've
so
already
either.
said that repeatedly. It's going up to Utica and Syracuse. It is not stopping in Amsterdam. Which
There you go.
is another thing. And I mean, we're 30 minutes from Rensselaer and 30 minutes from Schenectady to use that rail station to go to the city much quicker.
Well, let me ask a
We
question.
only have one Amtrak, I guess, a day out of Amsterdam in each direction.
Where specifically geographically is this going to sit?
On the same floodplain that it's currently sitting in.
No, but I mean over in this direction somewhere, I think.
Well, yeah, it's going to be down near where the pedestrian bridge is.
But it would have to. You'd have to rebuild the arterial.
So then it
approaches
is
to the
being
bridge.
moved because they anticipate this influx of individuals per year.
That's what she's saying.
Well, the other part of it is it's part of the master plan. And the mayor has used the master plan as her guideline since she came into office.
When it suits
She's
her
running
purposes.
out of ideas from the master plan, so she's going this route because this is the last major push. I'm sorry.
But is it gonna
within
benefit-
the master plan, but I don't think it's needed.
I was chairman of the master plan. Didn't agree with everything, but you put the master plan forward. The question is, what is it going to do to enhance our city?
I don't think it's going to do anything.
Well,
I
if you
really
believe
don't.
if you believe what they're saying, and I'm looking at it from their perspective, not mine. If you believe there's going to be even 100,000 people a year coming in here, and they're going to come by train to come here to look at the bridge, which I don't believe, and how would you put them on the bridge anyway? Which fascinates me, and what happens to the winter months? But I guess that's something else we'd have to discuss. What would be the economic benefits to putting it there? Why don't we care? Why don't we put a wall up to stop the noise when the train goes by and try to mitigate it attenuate it to some degree if you want to spend money? Or is this having that the federal government, doesn't the federal government regulate some of this, CSX?
Yes.
Okay.
There's one Tiger grant a year, according to von Hoslen. And it's something, again, that comes through the federal government. And they're multi-million-dollar grants.
Well, why don't we hold a public? Why don't you do what maybe I suggested or not? Before your common council meetings, why don't you have on a Saturday morning or something like they used to do, where you sit down and you go over all the resolutions and you bring people in and you can iron what you have ironed, and when it gets on the TV, it looks like the meeting is being run in a specific way. Would that be? I know that you'd probably go. What would be wrong with that?
I have no problem with Saturday mornings. There are other members that do.
Well, then have it Friday
What
night.
we do is we have the committee meetings on the Tuesday night before the
Right.
meeting.
Yeah, that doesn't really. You know, how many minutes do you put
I
into
agree.
it? Okay, this
I
was,
agree.
and Bob knows. I would sit
Yeah.
there 3 hours.
Yeah.
They would sit there. They would go
It's
over
much
everything,
more informal and relaxed, too.
right? And they would bring people in, and they would really hash things out, and it made for a better government.
I don't disagree. I have no problem with it. Anytime, anywhere.
Now you've probably looked at the charter amendments. Do you want to make any statement?
No.
Okay.
No.
Oh, wow.
I haven't. What I've seen so far, I don't like, because I do feel it's transferring what little power the council has left.
What power do the taxpayers have?
Pardon me?
What power do the taxpayers have? We don't
I
want to
don't
lose
think
our home.
anybody has any power now except the mayor.
Well, you know, if that's the case, then you gave the power to her, the council, over the years.
We
'Cause
didn't.
Well,
The
you,
previous
whoever.
councils have
so
given it
take
to
it
her.
back.
Everything we tried to
do what you have to do. What's right. Okay, you do what's right because Bob Going once told me that. You do what's right because it's right. Period. You just don't say, well, they did it, so it's got to continue. If it's
No,
supposed to be
I'm
run
not
a certain
saying
way, you do it that way.
It's just that we're stymied at every turn.
Why? There's 5 of you.
They give up.
Well, that's nice. Well, then you ought to resign. If people have given up, go.
They shouldn't be there.
You're right. Get out. It's as simple as that. I mean, it may sound harsh, but you were put in. People have this position.
People wanted us to make the changes to take back the city from
Well,
the
obviously you didn't do it.
Well, Diane is trying. You keep saying
As hard as I try,
I thought I said
run
something
into
nice about
problems
Diane
with
on
my
this
own
program.
Party.
Well, you did.
I did. Okay. What I'm saying is that that maybe you got to take everybody to task. Maybe you got to do something different. But to say we gave up, that's a horrible thing.
I'm
to
not
say.
giving
I didn't
up.
say you gave up. I'm looking at the group. If the group
Right.
gave up, there's a problem here. Then forget it.
We
It's
have
over.
a problem.
Yeah.
There is a
We are struggling. And I admit it. And it's just like,
So all right, you admit it, but you brought up a good point, I thought, at the meeting. How could you do anything if you don't know where the money is?
absolutely, we don't know where the money is. And we don't know what we owe. That's my biggest concern. And there's no way that we can go bonding again. I know the mayor has been, or is going to be meeting with Standard & Poor. I think it's a
Excuse
bit
me?
I think
premature
that's a joke.
to talk to the bonding people and to try and get a bonding
And you're going
rating
to tell
back.
me, well, I assume the controller's going to go. He is
I
the chief
assume that
financial
he
officer
would
of the
be
city.
there, yes. But at the same time, until we get ourselves back in financial footing, unless it's an absolute emergency and we have to ban for something in a small amount, because we are under a DEC consent order, and that's presenting a lot of problems.
Really?
Not for me, but it's moving forward. And I keep hearing that we have to do this, we have to do that. Well, do we know how much money we owe? Do we know what we owe?
Why is it taking so long, Diane, to find this stuff out with all the consultants in quotes that you've had?
We have one consultant right now, and she's doing 90% of the work.
Well, what is the
along
other
with
gentleman in there
the deputy
doing?
controller on the old stuff.
There's two other
and-
people there.
Well, look, we hired a deputy controller who
Illegal.
stayed on when we got a
Not
new
deputy.
controller. So that's a
Yes.
whole extra person who was supposed to straighten everything out. That was like 2.5 years
Right.
ago, right? Or 2 years ago, whatever it was.
Yes.
Then we hired 2 sets of consultants to come in.
That's what I thought.
And you know what? You could have re-entered every single entry for the last 10 years in the time that it's taken them to figure out what's going on here. And you still haven't got a valid AUD in, right?
We may have by the end of the day.
It may have.
Well,
I've heard
well,
this 3
the
times
reason,
already.
It's been submitted.
Yeah,
what year was it?
Yeah, but
was
we keep
submitted for
we keep
11,
submitting
12
things
has
that we
been
know.
submitted.
We,
This is 15.
They are
Diane,
going to accept it.
time out, Diane. We
Yes.
keep submitting forms that we know are improper and not complete, and we send them in knowing they're going to be rejected, so we can get an extra couple months to do it. Now, this has happened.
No.
This has happened at least 3 times so far.
This
okay.
one is.
This one's going to be
one was
complete
submitted
and going to be accurate.
believing that it was 100% correct.
All right, so let me ask you a question.
You still haven't balanced the books from
If
2011.
this one is correct, it should be very easy to put in the next one, correct?
Yes, absolutely. And that's why the state had a couple of questions. They asked the controller to make a couple changes.
Let me ask you a quick question, because Bob, why don't you got to read that,
We'll
correct?
get to it, get to
okay. Let me ask you a couple questions. You get a report. I think they keep saying, well, you got your report. That report means nothing to me. I'm sitting home. I don't know what's in your report. Do you get a report on expenditures and revenue?
Yes, I do.
So you get a report on your revenue. Where is your
Yes.
revenue? Where is your revenue? Because your revenue is going to either make you swim or sink. Where is your revenue right now? Is it consistent? How much collection do you have? How much is in arrears? How much do you owe the school?
I know what you're asking, And right now they're trying to determine what we owe the school district for 11-12 to confirm the numbers that have been put forward.
But, for instance, go to your line items in your revenue. There's about 2 pages. Do you keep track of those to see where you're going? Are you going to be short? Are you getting $3 million more that you didn't anticipate? Are you looking at that?
We're watching it.
Well,
yes.
okay, watching, looking, whatever
yes.
commentary you want to make. So you do know, does it look good?
I don't have it in front of me.
Well, I mean, you would probably remember. Does it look...
I don't remember.
Okay.
I haven't seen one I got one 3 weeks ago.
Okay. And you're looking at the expenditures, what people are spending in their departments.
I know what people are spending because I do the audit.
Okay. I didn't say you did. I'm asking as a person out there paying a high tax. So the thing is that you can pretty well monitor where you may be, because fund balance isn't an issue in this budget. You didn't use it. So what's an issue is your revenue against your expenditures, and you're following that, right? How do we look? I know it's only a month or so in. There's nothing that looks like if we don't stop this, we're out of control.
When we finished up 13-14, we were, based upon the numbers that we had, everything came in the way it was projected to come in, expense and revenue side.
Have you closed out the books for 13-14 at this point?
No, he's finishing them up. We're doing some transfers, but he is finishing them up.
And when are the transfers being done? This is already September.
And you know what the transfers are basically? They're
Right.
putting a Band-Aid which should have been checked as the budget was going along.
Right.
Everything is done backwards.
All I can tell you is that right now we're not spending more than what we have available.
You're not spending more
because of the way the budget is set up. It's set up on, we started fresh 2 years ago. We started fresh with a brand new, started from zero 2 years ago with the 13-14, and now 14-15 is the second year where we started with a brand new budget, from the standpoint that our revenues were tracked and everything was accurate for 13-14. Because prior to that, we don't have the numbers.
Okay.
Do I make sense at all?
Well, as much as the what's been going on in City Hall makes sense.
Well, Diane, you know what? You've tried. I'll say I've talked to you, I don't know how many times. You're looking for these numbers. All we're saying is with all the people that were hired, so-called people that know what's going on, we should be more up to date than we possibly are. It makes me wonder what is really going on. Now, what's your cash?
Pardon me?
Cash on hand.
I don't know.
Now, have you done a fixed asset inventory?
Now I do know we have a fund balance.
You
but
do?
We're not touching it.
Oh, can you tell us what that is?
Because we took the money from the insurance trust,
oh my
and
God.
It's sitting in fund balance so that we can build up a good fund balance to get our bond rating back.
Really?
But we're not touching that fund balance. And I know that we have a small amount in a contingency account. So if something comes up that's unexpected and has to be paid, it can be taken care of.
So you've got a one-shot deal that you claim you got from the health insurance trust. Is that what you're telling me?
Yes.
Okay.
And that's not
and
going
you
to be
know
touched.
that you are absolutely correct on that.
Pardon me?
And you know that what you're saying you're absolutely correct on.
Yes, I know we got the money, and I know that
And
it's
how did
sitting
you get the money? Did you get a check?
Yes.
Okay.
Or however Matt got it. Yes, I believe it was a check because it's been in the bank for several months.
And that came from the county health
And
trust?
that came from it came from
Well, whoever
issued it.
Maybe Bowerman was told to issue. I guess he is on the trust. So
Yes, he is.
you again, you didn't hear me. Have you done a fixed assets inventory for the city? Do we know what our buildings are worth?
You don't mean
No,
as
we have
Diane
not.
personally.
No, I don't mean you personally. When I talk to you like that, I'm talking about the city.
Right.
You're not
to
gonna
the
be able
best
to
of my
do it.
knowledge, we have not.
Okay.
I do have an inventory from DPW.
Okay.
Ray did that at my request in February. I have it completely broken down. Anything else I don't have. I requested inventories from Recreation, and we don't have that.
Well, look, if I could ask you, you don't have to answer me. How did you feel after Tuesday's meeting?
Rather dejected.
Okay, at least you're honest.
But then I also had several phone calls from people that really kind of made me feel a little bit better. And,
Well, I
they're
don't
not
see
my
you
regular supporters.
personally.
that
I don't
called
see
me.
you as I never saw you as a vindictive person.
I'm not.
I know that.
There are some other things that I am working on.
Well, let me ask you a question. Did I hear it correct? And of course, things are said so fast. Was Niall Nelson's name brought up?
Yes, it was.
Oh, that's really out of line. But all right.
Yes, it was.
He has done a lot for the kids over the years.
Oh, I
at
know.
no expense. I mean, I like Niles. He's a good guy. And I thought I heard his name. I said, well, you probably thought you heard it. Oh,
No.
okay.
You didn't.
In what city position does he hold?
None.
I didn't know he held
None
any.
whatsoever. So somebody's attacking a private
I
citizen?
thought that's what happened,
on.
but it was done so quick.
He's a good guy.
He is a good guy.
Well, you're not supposed to ask any questions. That's the problem.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
That's-
You keep your mouth shut and do what we tell you.
Hey, Diane, we got to cut it short because
That's fine.
we're running over
Yeah, we can't do
substantially
that,
here.
and I'll be blamed.
I'm getting hungry myself.
Hopefully, the AUD will have.
Well, it's good to hear that.
Hopefully, it'll be up on the state's website as
Okay.
soon as they make a couple
Very
of
good.
corrections.
At least that's progress.
Okay.
And they are accepting it. That's the important thing.
Well, they'll accept it
It will
when
be
they accept it.
accepted, and it is correct. When it was submitted, it all balanced. And that's why it took so long.
Well, it's nice
They'd
to
make
know
a
that
change, and then something else would get kicked back.
it's nice to know that one elected official is informing the public.
Yes.
I keep trying.
Thank you. All right,
right.
Bob has some.
Thank you.
some
Have a
news.
great
And
weekend.
keep your Facebook page up because I got to tell you, you take a lot of abuse on it, and you take it so graciously.
Well, thank you.
Okay.
The mayor
All right.
wants it shut down, and
Of course.
I will not shut it down.
All right, good for you.
Thank you.
All right,
Bye.
and if she shuts it down, I'll start it up. What the heck?
Why she can do that? I have no clue how
No.
that works. Okay.
Listen, we've got 3 stations now. Or we've got 4 stations in the network.
Wow.
But the
WIZR?
3 local stations that we operate out of here are all
Joey Caruso.
doing high school football games. Tonight, Perth Broad Alban will be broadcast at 7 o'clock on WCSS 1490. Tomorrow, the Johnstown game will be on WIZR at 7 p.m.
Give them the call.
9:30 on your AM dial, and on and Canajahari, the Canajahari game will be also at 7 o'clock on WKAJ, our sister station
1120.
out in Little St. Johnsville, Little Falls area, 1120 on your dial. And Saturday, the AHS game at the Carrier Dome will be played at here on WCSS at 5 o'clock p.m. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4
Read 'em
football
again.
4 football games. Perth Broad Alban tonight here on WCSS. The Johnstown game tomorrow, also tonight rather.
Tell the time. So they
At 7 o'clock, at 9:30 on your dial. The Canajahari game tonight at 7 o'clock on WKAJ 1120. And tomorrow's Amsterdam High School game at 5 o'clock here on WCSS.
Very good.
All right.
And I just want to say one thing. Boy, do I like that Chase Headley.
It's nice to have you back here on the program, Michael. Stop in anytime, Tuesday, Fridays, 10 to 11.
I appreciate you giving me the time. I didn't think I'd get back in the studio.
Well, we're delighted to have you. So Gavin had to leave early, so goodbye, Gavin.
Goodbye to Mr. Nikosha.
I'm Bob Going with Jim Nikosha and our special co-host of the day, Michael
I'll be home,
CHIARA.
my dogs.
All right.
Best of health to everybody.
This is WCSS 1490 on your dial in Amsterdam, New York, and this has been the show with no name.
See you.
40